it's like, I caddy and I go racing, and when I go to the racetrack, the only place I'm interested in finishing is first. When I go to the golf course, it's the only place I'm trying to finish. And obviously it's a very tough game. You can't always win, but I'm a very confident front runner.
He made me wanna retire. That is the kind of thing a caddy says when a moment is so perfect, so overwhelming, so completely full of meaning that walking away feels like the only way to honor it. And that is exactly what one of the greatest caddies in the history of professional golf felt after helping his golfer slip on the green jacket and become the first Australian to win the Masters. Not exhaustion, fulfillment. The kind that hits you so hard, you have to stop and ask yourself whether anything could ever top this. But here is the thing. That is not even the craziest story in this video. Because behind every great golfer, there is someone carrying more than just a bag. Someone absorbing the stress, whispering the yardages, talking a player down from the edge, and sometimes delivering a brutally honest truth that the player needed to hear years ago. The caddy is the person no one sees clearly in the photos. But when you sit down and actually ask them who their favorite golfer was, the stories they tell will absolutely stop you. So who were the golfers that made caddies feel this way? The ones that pushed them, inspired them, and created some of the most unforgettable moments in golf history. We found the answers, and they are better than you think. Quick thing before we go further. If you are enjoying this already, use the hype feature and give this video some hype. It helps more golf fans find stories like this one. Okay, now let us get into it. Professional golf looks like a solo sport. One person, one ball, one score. But at the top of the game, it does not work that way. The elite level runs as a dual operator system. The caddy is a co-strategist, an emotional anchor, and a decision-making partner. The best partnerships in the sport are built on mutual trust, shared thinking, and the kind of honesty most people are afraid to give. These are the 5 caddies who found their favorite golfer, and the stories behind why. Number 1. Fanny Sunnison and Nick Faldo. Let us start here, because this story begins with a dream. Fanny Sunnison is the most successful female caddy in golf history. Her career covered over 750 professional events, 91 majors, and 6 Ryder Cups. Before the 1990 Open Championship at St. Andrews, she sat on the grounds of the home of golf, talking with legendary caddies Greg Rita and Bruce Edwards. She was marveling at where she was, dreaming about what it would feel like to guide a champion around that course. She did not have to dream for long. Sunnison partnered with Sir Nick Faldo from 1990 to 1999. Together, they won 4 major championships. What made this partnership so strong was that they were both perfectionists. Faldo demanded absolute precision in every part of his preparation. He was clinical, almost mechanical. Every shot had a plan, and every plan was built on hours of detailed work. Sunnison matched him completely. She brought the same obsessive work ethic, the same belief that thorough preparation was the only real path to winning. Because they thought alike, there was almost no friction. They did not argue about how to approach a course. They already agreed before they got there. That kind of alignment is rare. Most partnerships have at least some tension. This one ran smooth because both people were pointed in exactly the same direction from day one. The moment Sunnison still gets emotional about happened on the 17th hole at St. Andrews, during the final round of that 1990 Open Championship. Victory was secure. The crowd knew it. Faldo knew it. And as they walked off that hole together, Faldo turned to her and said 4 words. Enjoy this moment. That was it. No big speech, no celebration yet. Just a quiet invitation to stop and feel what they had built. Sunnison described it this way. She said if she had to pick one, it is the Open, St. Andrews 1990. And Nick turns around to her and says, enjoy this moment. They knew they were going to win, basically. Decades later, she still chokes up telling that story because it was not just a win. It was a peak. 2 perfectionists, aligned in every way that matters, standing together at the top of the sport in the most historic place in golf. Her legacy also extended beyond Faldo. She later guided Henrik Stenson to a win at the 2009 Players' Championship. But that moment at St. Andrews stays with her above everything else. Perfectionism plus trust. And one quiet sentence shared between 2 people that lasts a lifetime. Now, let us move from a moment of pure calm into something with a little more fire. Number 2. Michael Greller and Jordan Spieth. In 2011, Michael Greller was a 6th grade math teacher, making $55,000 a year. He was not living the dream life of a professional golf caddy. He was grading papers and teaching fractions. Then, he caddied for a young Jordan Spieth at the US Junior Amateur, and something clicked. Greller recognized that Spieth had the highest golf IQ he had ever seen in a player. He saw the way Spieth thought through every shot, every situation, every angle. Spieth even had unique habits on the greens, like looking directly at the hole instead of the ball when putting from short range. It was unconventional, but it worked, because Spieth trusted his mind above everything else. Greller quit teaching and went full-time. He took a massive risk on a teenager he believed in. The journey that followed was something neither of them could have planned. At the 2015 U.S. Open at Chambers Bay, in Greller's home state of Washington, his deep familiarity with the terrain helped Spieth claim his second major title. That win made it clear to Greller that leaving the classroom was the right call. But the moment that defined their partnership happened at the 2017 Open Championship at Royal Birkdale. Spieth was leading by 3 shots when he hit a tee shot on the 13th hole that went 75 yards right of the fairway and into a steep dune. It was unplayable. After a penalty drop that put them directly behind equipment trucks on the practice range, Spieth and Greller spent 20 minutes figuring out what to do. Most caddies would have panicked. Greller stayed sharp. Spieth then hit a blind 3-iron over the dunes, escaped with a bogey, and went on a run that nobody saw coming. A near hole-in-one on the 14th, a huge 50-foot eagle putt on the 15th, where Spieth turned to Greller and shouted, "Go get that," and then a march to the claret jug. Later that same year, at the 2017 Travelers Championship, Spieth holed out a 20-yard bunker shot in a sudden death playoff. He and Greller celebrated with a full, ecstatic chest bump that said everything about how much this journey meant to both of them. Greller summed it up perfectly. He said that without Jordan, none of it exists. He told viewers that he was watching Spieth on TV right now, and they had no clue who he was. Spieth had taken them all on a journey he never imagined would happen. Loyalty, risk, chaos managed brilliantly at the highest level of the sport. That is what this partnership was built on. From high IQ chaos control, we shift to something different. Quiet dominance. The kind that comes from a calm and steady mind. Number 3, Ted Scott and Scottie Scheffler. Ted Scott spent 15 years caddying for Bubba Watson, helping him win multiple major championships. Then, in late 2021, he joined Scottie Scheffler. What happened next was one of the most dominant runs in modern golf. 4 Masters championships and an Olympic gold medal. Back-to-back wins on the PGA Tour. A level of consistency that had the sports world comparing Scheffler to the all-time greats. Ted Scott will tell you that Scheffler's secret weapon is not his swing. It is not his ball striking, even though those numbers are historically dominant. His best club is not in the bag. Scott said it himself. He said the best club he has is not even in his bag. It is his mind. And that is Scottie's best club. What does that mean in practice? It means Scheffler has an extraordinary ability to regulate his emotions under pressure. He makes clear decisions when the situation is most stressful. He does not let bad holes carry into good ones. He does not let media attention or comparisons to legends shake his focus. Ted Scott calls his humility one of the rarest traits at the top level of any sport. At the elite level, ego can become a liability. It leads to overconfidence, poor decisions, and emotional volatility. Scheffler does not have that problem. His grounded approach shields him from both the weight of massive expectations and the sting of sudden setbacks. Their tactical precision on the course is remarkable too. On one hole, playing to an actual distance of 161 yards, they accounted for every variable and decided to play it as if the distance were 145 yards. They chose a pitching wedge based on the situational math, not the obvious club, the right club. This partnership is built on cognitive mastery. 2 people who trust each other completely, thinking clearly when the pressure is highest. The mind as the ultimate competitive tool. From quiet dominance, we move into the fire of a win-only mentality that refused to settle for anything less than first. Number 4, Jim Bones Mackey and Phil Mickelson. 25 years, over 45 wins, 5 major championships. The partnership between Bones Mackey and Phil Mickelson is one of the longest and most successful in golf history. And at the center of all of it was a mindset that Bones describes better than anyone. He said that Phil and Tiger would both tell the genie to jump in the lake. They do not want anything to do with 2nd or 10th or 15th or 40th. They want to win and only win. That is the zero-sum competitor. For Mickelson, a high finish with financial security meant nothing if there was no trophy at the end. He wanted to win, full stop. That mentality required Bones to operate not just as someone calculating distances, but as a co-conspirator in bold, aggressive, tactical plans. He had to think the same way his player did. What made this partnership so unique was something Bones credits as a game changer. Mickelson took absolute ownership of every shot he played. In professional golf, one of the most common friction points happens when a player blames the caddy for a bad club choice or a missed yardage. That blame shifts the psychological weight onto the caddy and creates fear. It makes caddies play it safe instead of being bold. Mickelson never did that. He took the final call on every shot. He owned the outcome. That freedom allowed Bones to debate strategy openly, bring audacious ideas to the table, and commit to decisions without fear of being the scapegoat. Over a quarter century, that trust built something extraordinary. Bones was not just along for the ride. He was a full partner in everything Mickelson achieved. From the fire of a win-only mindset, we arrive at the story that gives this whole video its spine. The caddy who found something better than he expected and almost retired on the spot because the moment was that good. Number 5. Steve Williams and Adam Scott. Steve Williams is one of the most decorated caddies the sport has ever seen. He won 13 major championships alongside Tiger Woods. He was known as a fierce protector, a relentless competitor, and someone who did not sugarcoat anything. When his time with Woods ended abruptly, the golf world watched to see what he would do next. He joined Australian star Adam Scott, and he described the new dynamic as feeling like a breath of fresh air. But Williams did not soften up just because the environment was different. He sat down with Scott and told him the truth. Despite having one of the most beautiful swings in the game, Scott had underachieved. At age 30, he had only 8 PGA Tour wins. Williams believed Scott had the ability to win major championships, and he said so directly. No gentle words, no careful phrasing, just honesty. That conversation did not crush Scott. It lit a fire. Scott heard the critique as a compliment. Williams believed in him enough to tell him the hard truth. That became the motivational spark for everything that followed. Williams said it plainly. He said he had always believed in Scott and thought he was a great player who had somewhat underachieved, in his view. The first payoff came in 2011 at the WGC Bridgestone Invitational at Firestone Country Club. Just weeks after his split from Woods, Scott won. Williams called it his best week ever on a golf course. That victory sparked all kinds of debate, as some felt Williams made too much of it in the media. But for Williams, it was personal and it was real. The second payoff was even bigger. In 2013, Scott won the Masters tournament. It was the first Masters ever won by an Australian. Standing there on that green, watching Scott pull on the green jacket, Williams felt something he had never felt in 13 major championships with another player. He thought about retiring right there. Not because he was tired, because the moment felt complete. It felt like everything a caddy partnership was supposed to build toward. That is the thumbnail. That is the headline. He made me want to retire, not from exhaustion, but from fulfillment. Tough love that unlocks greatness. A fresh start that reignites purpose. And a moment so perfect that walking away felt like the only fitting response. And that is the bigger idea connecting all 5 of these stories. When people talk about golf, they talk about swings and stats and rankings, but the caddies on this list will tell you something different. They will tell you that the greatest performances in the sport are not solo. They are built between 2 people. One carries the clubs, the other carries the mental weight of the course. Together, they form something that neither could build alone. Fanny, Sunnison, and Faldo had perfectionist alignment and a shared belief that preparation is everything. Greller and Spieth had loyalty and the ability to stay sharp in the middle of pure chaos. Ted, Scott, and Scheffler built dominance on a foundation of humility and cognitive clarity. Bones and Mickelson ran on a win-only fire that lasted 25 years. And Williams and Scott proved that honest truth, delivered with belief, can unlock a player's entire potential. These caddies are not just bag carriers. They are pressure partners. They are the ones standing next to greatness when it happens, helping it happen, and sometimes feeling it so deeply that they consider hanging it all up on the spot. Every major championship that gets celebrated on a Sunday afternoon has a second person in the story. Someone who stood in the fairway at 6 in the morning, walking the course. Someone who ran the numbers in their head on a hole they had studied for 3 days straight. Someone who said the right thing at the exact right moment when the player needed it most. The best partnerships in this sport are built on one thing above all else: trust. Trust that the other person sees what you see. Trust that when everything is on the line, you will both be thinking clearly and pulling in the same direction. That is what these 5 pairs had. And that is why their moments are remembered long after the scores are posted and the leaderboards are taken down and the cameras go home. Drop a comment below and tell us which of these 5 partnerships you think is the greatest of all time. Was it the quiet dominance of Scott and Scheffler? The fire of Bones and Mickelson? The dream moment at St. Andrews with Fanny and Faldo? We want to know where you stand. And if you are not subscribed yet, hit that button right now, because the next video is going to take you inside some of the most dramatic moments in major championship history. You do not want to miss it.